I'm super excited about having a returning guest. He's a returning favorite, and that is the wonderful Gregg Michaelsen. Welcome, Gregg.
How you doing? You got my name right.
Woohoo! We're off to a good start, right?
Exactly.
So Gregg and I are going to have a great conversation today, and we're so glad you tuned in. And we're going to talk about the importance of confidence and building yourself and how that all ties in with attracting a man. And we'll see where that takes us, but we're going to have a great time. So before we get started, I know so many of you are familiar with Gregg and his work and his wonderful books, but just in case, I'll give a brief introduction. Gregg Michaelsen is one of Boston's top dating and life coaches. Gregg is a multiple #1 best-selling author, having sold 250,000 books to date in the dating advice genre. I mean, come on, Gregg, seriously, that's so awesome. He encourages women to contact him through his books so he can help them directly. So, Gregg, welcome once again.
How you doing? Great to be here.
So great to have you back. And so you and I are going to have a great conversation today. But before we jump into all of that, I just wonder if you can share just a little bit about how you got into this work and writing your books and a little bit about your own personal journey.
Sure. I'll put this in a nutshell for you. It's funny. My mom just the other day was saying, I've got 3 older sisters and they read like crazy. And I was the only one who never read. It's like Charlotte's Web was the last thing I read. So she always laughs. She says, how did this happen? But anyway, long story short, my beginnings, if you will, without me even realizing it, my dad was a life coach before they were even ever called life coaches. He owned a company called Leadership Attitudes, and I literally was brought up instead of scrambled eggs and sausage, it was affirmations and goal setting. That's what I was brought up with, and I was lucky. I was lucky for sure. So I had all these things instilled into me. The different concepts, and it just led one thing to the other. And I just honestly, because of him, was able to say, I can do anything. And that includes, I was always good at helping people in relationships, but I decided, you know what, this is my calling. I want to help people in relationships. So I went down that path. So I guess this ties into a lot what you and I are going to talk about today is the life coaching that I have with me. It's so easy for me to do what I do, but it's very difficult to, if people didn't have a life coach growing up, and people have baggage and they have a lot of things going on that happened to them. And society pressured and everything like that. So, but anyway, long story short, so I started writing for men. And then I realized that it was women, women who need the help. They really need the help. Guys, I just don't feel so sorry for, maybe because I'm a guy. But so I jumped on the other side. And in full disclosure, I was that, the guy you didn't want to date when in my 20s. You know what I mean? I was this player, so maybe it's my way of paying back, to doing the right thing, because now I advise, women about, people that I was back in my 20s, I guess has kind of led me to all this, so. Yeah.
Well, you've got a unique point of view from that standpoint, right?
Yeah. And it's like, Michelle, it's like, if the government wants to, solve hacking, they bring in, the guy, the best hacker in the world. And it's great having a guy on your side because I know all the crap already. I know guys so well that it makes it so easy to help women because I can answer those questions and have them, help them both understand men and build their inner game, with a life coaching part of me. So
mm-hmm.
that was
and
long answer. Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. And I like the concept that you have, build yourself and he will come. And so I want to talk about that a little bit with you. Have you share some of your thoughts about that? So first of all, It kind of sounds like a Field of Dreams kind of a theme, right?
Yeah, I kind of, yep.
And they will come or whatever. But I think there's really something to this, and you referred to it briefly when you said your inner game. I think what we're talking about a lot here is the inner game. So tell us a little bit about this idea of build yourself and he will come.
Exactly. So what I found is there's great dating advice out there. I mean, we give great dating advice, and then there's bad advice out there too. But what I found is you can tell anyone what to do. I can tell a woman, okay, this is, I could go out with them, and a lot of times I do. What to wear, what to say, where to go, how to act. But it occurs to me that's great, and maybe the person can pull that off or she can't, depending if she's shy or confident or not, or comfortable in the situation. But how is she going to keep the man? Assuming this is a quality guy, we're talking about quality guys here, or how is she going to screen a non-quality guy? Mm-hmm. So all this stuff is kind of moot if you don't have the inner game, as I call it, to execute everyone's advice. And so I guess my whole concept, build yourself and he will come, sits right on my website, is forget about, you want to find a great guy. I get it. But stop putting the pressure on finding a great guy and stop that. Finding a great guy is a cherry on top. He's a furry prize on the top shelf. But to get that guy, you need to withdraw. I mean, to me, you need to self-discover. There are a lot of steps before that, fun steps. If you embrace my concept, they're actually fun things, okay? Affirmations and goal setting. When I say that stuff, women's eyes roll because they just want to meet a guy. Mm-hmm. So I've sort of taken a different tact because affirmations and goal setting can actually be fun, but because they're so boring, I don't lure women down that path yet. But there's another way to build your confidence, and this is what we're talking about here because men love a confident woman. We have to start with that premise. So what I'll do is I'll take the concept of understanding men, okay? You can build confidence without anything else when you understand men. Now think about that. All these things, all these questions, and I get 30, 50 emails a day, through my books, and question after question, and women are blaming themselves for things that have nothing to do with them. They've just chosen the wrong guy, or they've chosen the right guy, but at the wrong time, or they're reading into the situation that he doesn't like me, when that's not the situation at all. And when you start to understand men, which is fun now, I mean, everyone likes that part of it. It's like, okay, that's not torturous like affirmations. Right. But, right. When you start to understand men and how we think, it's absolutely fascinating. And I know, Michelle, I know you and I have talked on other video summits about this concept I have called man mode. But basically, I've got, there are ingredients that go into men. There are 12 ingredients. There's, we want to win. We're competitive. Money is very important to us. We hide our emotions. It goes on and on. But you can pick from this little tree, and everything in a man's life comes under one of these DNA traits, I call them. And you can figure out where a guy is in any particular time in his life, in his week, in his day, in the minute. And when you know these things, and I call it the conveyor belt to manhood. I start off with one of my major books, To Date a Man Must Understand a Man. The main chapter is called The Conveyor Belt to Manhood. And I talk about the ingredients that go into a man, like a chocolate chip cookie, and I add them in, and we're built to be tough. We get, our bedrooms are painted blue with tough animals, and you get pink with teddy bears and stuff like that. But these are things that when you start to understand, you start to understand our need to provide, and how, for instance, how we love. For instance, women will say, Greg, everything's going great, but he never says, I love you. It's like, well, he doesn't say I love you because we don't work good with words. We say I love you with actions and not words, whereas you guys say I love you with words. So you think we are like you, and we're not. So back to my build yourself and he will come. When you start to understand men, then your confidence builds. It's like, oh, okay, I know what's going on here. And you can take another step. You can approach a man maybe, or you'll like, wow, these things are working. So now I'm going to go out alone, which I would have never done before. And then I can get women into, because I'm sorry, you've got to get into the affirmations and looking into the mirror where all the negativity happens. But once I can get women understanding men and the concepts, they get excited, and then they can jump into the, what I call the boring stuff, but it really isn't boring, about your vision, and what you want in life. I mean, that's fun, and how to get it. And killing off that evil voice that we all have. Let's face it, we all have that evil voice, and she has got to go. She has got to go. So you've got to tame that voice. And then you get into goal setting. And when you start accomplishing your goals, even if they're little baby goals, you start to get excited and you start to live your life. I hate to say like I do. I mean, and granted, I was lucky. I get that. But everything I do is based on goal setting and spontaneity and things that I can do because I have the confidence to do it, And so I like to teach women this confidence. And when they do, then your world just explodes. Now you become that woman that all women hate because she's got choice in men, okay? And when you have choice, you have comparison. You don't put up with this loser, that's still living in his mom's basement at, 50 years old. You don't have to. You don't try to mold a guy into what you think he can be, because you don't have to.
And you don't try to morph yourself into what you think he wants.
Perfect. That's why I have you, because you articulate much better than me. Exactly. Because you're right. He might try to morph you into what he wants. And women that don't have that inner game, that don't have that confidence, will allow him to. So it's you don't put the cart before the horse, okay? It comes to you, and a lot of women I know that are listening right now have have come out. It's a new year, and they've come out of divorce. Maybe they've been so everything's brand new to them, okay? And they want to get another guy. I need a guy to be happy. No, you don't need a guy to be happy. A guy never validates your happiness. It's inside and it's attainable, but you've got to have a path, and then once you build yourself and this also comes down to, people that have been single for so long. I've got a lot of women that are single for 10 years and they can't do it. So I'm asking you to step away from the door, and embrace some of the build yourself and he will come, some of the confidence building concepts that are fun, and then take a new approach. And when you do that, everything dominoes and it just becomes fun. You have all the traits that men want. Men want independence. Men want a woman with boundaries. And it's all very easy when you have done the steps. So Michelle, let me stop talking in philosophical terms, because it's always better when, we get right to the point. What exactly can you do? I always say, go old school. I like to take 50 things, 100 things, write them down, brainstorm like we used to do, or I used to do in high school. And I don't care if it's going to Mars. I want 50 things, 100 things just written down, sleep on it. The next day, pick 10. Sleep on that. And these might be things you used to do, photography, horseback riding, things you want to do, things that you used to do, but because you had a family and kids and your ex, you gave them up. And then on day 3, you've picked 1 or 2 and you do them. You just do them. And so what does this accomplish? Well, you're picking things that you think you love to do, or you're going to try, so it puts you outside of your comfort zone. Number 1, that's a good thing. You're meeting people that you have things in common. That's another great thing. It sounds so simple, And people will say, yeah, but they don't do it. But if you start to do it, you start to create your story. I always say, when I start coaching a client, a woman, I'll say, what is your story? And they'll say, what do you mean, Greg? What is my story? I say, tell me your story. I just want to hear your story. And she'll usually start something negative or whatever. And it's like, no, I want to hear your story. And then she starts talking like, well, I used to do, okay. And I start, you start seeing these things. It's like, okay, a lot of people have a great story. It's just been buried all their years, or it needs to be freshened up, or maybe it needs to be started. And that can be started at age 60. I don't care. Doesn't have to be at age 18. Our story starts now, today. And when you have a great story to tell, you're pursuing your hobbies, your passions, you're getting good at something. And when you get good at something, you can teach others. It fuels confidence. It makes you ooze confidence. It puts you outside of your comfort zone, and you start to build those boundaries. Your time is precious. You start to date men, and you're busy. By default, they don't call you up and say, hey, want to get together tonight? I'll pick you up at 10. It's like, no, I'm busy. Maybe next Thursday, or why are you even trying, to book a date, on the same day type of thing. Everything falls in line because you've built a great story. And out of that story, you become independent. You become financially, I'm not going to say financially secure, but financially, you're taking care of yourself. And that's important to men. When you understand men, don't come to me with an 82 Honda leaking oil and 50 grand in debt. Okay. Another against 82 Hondas. And I hate to be shallow like that, but the woman of my dreams isn't going to, have that type of baggage. I mean, you're going to work on that ahead of time type of thing. And I don't mean to just say financials, but so I guess what I'm trying to say is you've discovered yourself and brought home the traits naturally. Fun, in a fun way. You've embraced being single, all right? Instead of fighting it, instead of thinking that it's terrible, you've embraced being single. We can talk about that. And then you go get the guy, Michelle. Mm-hmm. Need some water after that.
Thank you. There's so much there. There's so much there, and so much wisdom. And one thing that really caught my attention was you talking about a woman pursuing her passions or interests, or reconnecting with passions or interests from the past. And as you know, Greg, I've interviewed all of these men over the years with my man panels and that sort of thing. And one of the things that has been a theme is exactly what you're talking about, is that when a woman is involved in those kinds of activities, things that excite her or she enjoys or brings her into that place of fun, she's kind of lit from within. And she has this passion about life that is incredibly attractive to men.
There you go. Inner game. Exactly. You can't help but be happy. You've made yourself happy because why? Because you're living the life that you want to live. I mean, it's really as simple as that. And we've gotten away from that, especially women that have been, involved in a marriage for so long and have kids, they've given up everything. I know how you guys are. I know how my mom is. She gives up everything, for her family. She had to go through the same thing. But you're right, Michelle. Now you can't fake, guys, we're simple creatures, but you can't fake happiness to us. You can't come to us. We'll see through the baggage. We'll see how unhappy you are with life, yourself, or whatever, and we're not going to take you in. And that has a woman feeling even less confident, and she drops lower. And I'm trying to, like I said, take that, throw it out the window. And start all over again, and it starts with you. And, I'm not talking this isn't going to take 5 years. I've got women that do the work in 3 months. They're brand new. They're happy. they don't even care if they meet a guy, some of them, because they finally realize it's like, no, I was trying to be happy is what I was trying to do. And happiness, as I find out, isn't necessarily with a guy, you know? And then, of course, I've had women that have gotten into relationships, and you work on your own time. But I find my biggest thing isn't everything I say works. I know it works, but it's getting women to stop thinking like they're thinking, you know, and try a new thought. And that is, you know, like you say, you know, get happy within by doing the things you love. And then the guys come along. You know, I always say when you pick from those things, you know, yoga is great, but you're probably not going to have men in yoga. But that's okay. You'll meet women. And I always say, you know, it's great if you can meet some single wing women, you know, because again, when you're going out with your married friends, they aren't helping you. They just aren't helping you, you know. But if you have like one single wing woman that you meet and she's fun, or a couple, and now you start going on vacation, you start going to charities and wine tastings together, and you start doing my concepts, you know. I get women that just like, you know, I'll have a group call before they'll go out just to get them all rah, you know, and they'll go out and do these things, you know, they'll separate and conquer, you know, or they'll go early. They'll go earlier to the venue because they know the woman is coming, you know what I mean? Their girlfriend's coming, so it's not so scary. It's a challenge I have in the book I'm going to give away. But you start making it fun instead of a chore, you know, to meet this man. And, you know, it's just, you have to do it in my eyes. So, yeah.
Yeah. So I want to swing back, Gregg, to something you mentioned earlier, just because I think this bears a little bit more exploration, and that is embracing the single life. So everyone, I would say most everyone here is here because they want to be in a relationship with a man. But we're talking about how maybe the gateway to that is a different path than what you might have tried before, and that a part of that might be embracing the single life. Yes. So you've talked about that in terms of passions and that sort of thing, but I wonder if you could talk about that a little bit more.
Yeah, it's, you know, again, it's a whole thought change. You know, it's like, okay, I'm going to take the pressure off from meeting the man of my dreams. Okay, that's what I thought is going to make me happy. It doesn't make you happy. You know, if you're not happy going in, you're going to be codependent, you know, on someone instead of interdependent, you know, and it's not going to work out. You're going to look for someone that might support your depression, you know, that often is the case in a codependent relationship. So what I'm saying is, yeah, embrace being single. Take the pressure off and start doing things that you love in life. Just you love in life, and let things flow from there. And it's hobbies and passions. I mean, you're not going to do things you hate. Now, they might be new things that you haven't tried before that you find out that you don't like, and that's fine. I've done a lot of that. But, you know, you just keep picking at it. You know, it's almost like a bucket list. And the more things you do, the more people you'll run into, the more you'll network. And before you know it, you're amongst a group playing volleyball, and it becomes, now it gets fun, because now don't forget, there are other things going on. You're living your life now, but you're also getting all these understanding men tips now. So now you're reading body language, okay? Which now you get into fun things. You start reading body language, and people are billboards, okay? Forget what comes out of their mouth. We are walking billboards. And when you know how to read us, both men and women, it gets exciting, you know? And when you don't, you miss all these signs. You miss all these signs. You know, I wrote a blog post the other day saying 1 million people. I go out on Friday, Saturday nights a lot. And Sunday morning, I wrote a blog post. 1 million people didn't meet last night. And let's think about it. You know, so many women saw a guy that she thought he was attractive, and he saw her maybe, or he saw someone else, whatever, and he thought she was attractive, and they didn't meet. And it's such a crying shame, because had they had the confidence or the understanding of body language that that person was looking over, was smiling or whatever, or he or she could have met that person, And I always throw out this dumb statistic. There are 6.4 billion people, 3.2 billion men out there. Okay, I'll bet you either you walked by, drove by, or talked to the potential future husband yesterday. It sounds crazy, but when you start to incorporate, embracing being single, your inner game, living your life, getting the exposure. Now remember, this is all about exposure, and all these things start to come together. It puts you in a position where you're not going to let that guy go by, because you're going to say something, or you're going to be clever enough to set it up so you see him again. Maybe he's at your coffee shop, maybe he's at your gym. But you start being like I can be, and I'm not saying you're that, you're that crazy woman, on the street running around, will you go out with me type of crap. No, but you've got the confidence, to when you see someone, to go after it. And you also have the understanding that you're going to back off and let him chase and be what a man does, You're going to let him do that also. So you've got all the pieces in place, and it becomes fun. You become that annoying woman that has all these potential men in her life and has choice when her friends don't have any.
Right.
Hate to be vindictive to your friends, but yeah.
Yeah, and I've even had some men say to me that when a woman is happy like this and she's living this rich, full life, it's so attractive, because from a man's point of view, his job is already pretty much done. He doesn't have to come in to make her happy. She's already happy. So who doesn't want to connect with that? That's going to be a lot more fun. That's going to be a lot more rewarding and enjoyable than spending time with someone who's all sad or discouraged or down and depressed because their life hasn't gone the way they planned.
Right. And positive people are attractive. Okay. Positive people attract positive people. When you're at a venue and a whole bunch of people are laughing over there, you're attracted to them naturally, because that's what we do. We don't really like the people that are negative in our life. I mean, I don't, don't get me wrong. Some are family members, but it just, you have to be with them, and some come from a very hard place. I get that. But the people that I want to be, my significant other, she came up to me and gave me crap about some fruity drink I was drinking, I mean, and it was just like, to me, I'm like, wow, I just liked that. And she can't do that without confidence. She couldn't have done that without, she didn't know me. And because she didn't care, maybe a little bit of it is she didn't care about rejection. And then we can go into a whole nother thing, Michelle, because this is getting back to the life coaching. But, I say to hell with rejection. I love rejection, because you know what? Rejection means, okay, that didn't work. So now I'm going to try this. That didn't work. Now I'm going to try this. I always go to Thomas Edison. He failed 1,000 times, true story, getting the light bulb. Okay. He had to. If he didn't fail 1,000 times, if he just quit, on 999, I'd be in the dark. Well, I guess someone else would have discovered. But so I'm just saying, my girl is, she didn't care. She didn't know who I was. So if I rejected her, she wasn't going to take it personally. And then now when you're online, now you've got the inner game. Just think about things. You're online, okay? And instead of, saying hi to a guy and he doesn't contact you and now you're all bummed out, saying how Match.com, doesn't work and I've tried everything. It's like, no, you don't care. It's like next, you realize he's screening just like you're screening. He doesn't not like you. He doesn't even know you. He might not like your type. He might like, tall women and you're short. He might like, blondes and you're brunette. I mean, it just goes on and on. So when you don't care about rejection, and don't get me wrong, I'm not saying rejection doesn't hurt. I mean, it can. But if you look at it differently, and you start to, it's just like, whoa, okay. And you look at it differently, it just changes everything. It changes everything. It's just an aha moment where now you're willing to take chances. You're living out of your comfort zone because you thrive living out of your comfort zone. And as soon as you start to do that, life gets exciting. And Michelle, we are such creatures of habit. Even I, my little mug says, do something scary, every day, do something that scares you every day. But even I fall into these routines and I realize it. Every Sunday I do this Sunday reflection thing and I just look, and to me, everyone should do this. I just look at positive things that happened during my week and bad things that happened, things that I could have improved on or whatever. And people fall into this routine. We do the same thing over and over again because we're comfortable with it. Sometimes we stay with the wrong person because we're just comfortable. And to make that change is taking a risk. It's like we could fail. These feelings, start to kick in. But when you get rid of those and you start breaking your routine, living out your comfort zone, taking chances, and you don't have to jump out of a plane, but saying, okay, I'm hitting this gym this month. You know what I mean? Big deal. I'm going to sit down at this other coffee shop, in a different part of town, and see what happens, or just have fun, whatever. I'm going to join this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to go to this. I'm going to go to this alone on Friday night. And I'm going to say, if I feel uncomfortable for some reason, I'm going to stay 1 hour, just 1 hour. And if I feel uncomfortable, I'm going to just leave. And that'll be fine, no problem. But I'm going to go. And I'll guarantee you go. And if you have that attitude, you'll be there all night. Yeah. And you'll have a couple phone numbers, So I don't know. I get excited about this stuff because I've seen the power of when you start to embrace a different line of thinking from what you've been taught or not been taught. I mean, Michelle, let's face it. No one taught us this stuff, No one. I just wish, my dad, if he was in a classroom teaching me, this stuff to all my friends, I'm like, oh my goodness, or teaching, or if I had a class now, I'd like to have a class in high school, that just teaches women about men,
Mm-hmm.
It would be, it would do wonders. And this stuff just isn't found, so.
Yeah, and yet we sometimes expect ourselves to just know it all without ever having been taught this. Like it's like the equivalent of expecting ourselves to know another language without ever taking a course in that.
And it's funny, I get psychiatrists, psychologists, I get all the pros, and they come to me. And a lot of times, like, Greg, this is confidential. I said, yeah. I say, okay, because I'm a little embarrassed. And I'm like, don't be embarrassed. No one's taught you from the street. No one's taught you about what men are really thinking about, and it doesn't come from a textbook, I've done video shoots with Helen Fisher. I mean, she's the guru of everything, relationships, and her and I, had fun doing video shoots in New York. And, I certainly have learned a massive amount of things from her, but I'm with her and some other pros, and they're just like, oh my God, I never thought about that. Because I'm just, there are things that my friends, we're just like, it's inherent in us, and it's in all men for the most part. I generalize to a certain extent, but when you start to understand that your boyfriend comes home and he's ignoring you or not doing the usual things he does, instead of taking personally, if you find out that, oh, he didn't get that raise, okay, so you look from that that list of DNA traits and, winning. We need to be in a state of winning. Quality guy want to win. And it's like, okay, he didn't get that raise today. He lost. My guy lost today. This is not the time to think about my needs or try to fix his problem. This is the time for me to just leave him lemonade, give him a kiss, let him go to his man cave, work on his Mustang GT. And this is the time for me to go join my friends, okay? And just leave him be. And when women understand that, they don't blame themselves anymore. And their guy will love the fact that they didn't try to fix their problem or say, "What's wrong, honey?" Or, or think it's, "You don't love me anymore." When you start to understand this changes the dynamics of relationships, So it's very, very interesting when you start to understand how men tick. You can really go at it, a different way. And while I'm mentioning that, another thing that I always say is women, when they start to like a guy, they start to make him their hobby. And I always say in all my books, you'll see it, you never make a man your hobby. And women tend to do that. They stop doing the things that they loved. They stopped going out on girls' night on Thursdays. They stopped doing the weekend down at Cape Cod in Massachusetts. And I'm saying never, ever do that. And men sometimes will even encourage you not to do that, but do not do that. You always never make him your hobby. Keep your hobbies. Let him have his hobbies. Participate in hobbies together, but never make a man your hobby. And if you remember that concept, it'll go a long way, because women tend to want to nurture and just be there all the time, So,
mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really good advice, because it is tempting sometimes when a woman really likes a man to suddenly put all of her focus, attention, time, energy into him. And those things that were lighting her up, her interests, her passions, her friends, those things can sometimes go by the wayside. I think we've all experienced that for ourselves, or we've experienced a girlfriend who suddenly has no time for us because she's got this new man in her life.
Right.
And that kind of, they don't necessarily, they haven't earned that kind of priority status in our lives, at least not at that point. And it's something that I think can put a lot of pressure on a relationship, because it's like you're depending on that one person to meet all of your needs.
Yeah. And it's not even the woman's fault. In a lot of cases, it's the guy. It's the guy that is pushing this. And then, you probably, I'm sure it's happened in your life. And then all of a sudden the guy pulls back. Okay. He all of a sudden, you know how it is. It's like you've got your own drawer now and everything's going great. And then it's like, Greg, all of a sudden, he's not texting as much. He's not, and it's the same thing. It's just, rewind the tape. It's like our mouths get ahead of our intentions. They really do. We get excited and we say, "Oh yeah, let's get together next week. Oh, we're going to go to Italy," and it never happens or whatever. And it's up to women to slow our roll. You need to slow us down. We are not worthy of anything. We are not worthy of your time yet. We've got a lot of steps, a lot of tests you need to put us through before, we are worthy of you giving up, anything for this guy. And that's one of the concepts, again, of understanding men. You if you keep it, Michelle, I know I've told you this story before, but I always like to approach an elderly couple. Okay, when I see an elderly couple holding hands, in the park, I love to. I have to run up to them, and I usually get maced. Beyond that, I love to go up to them because I want to know their story, because they're the exception to the rule. I feel, because 55%, people get divorced. And I tell you, the answers I get are incredible, but they are consistent. And the man will always say something that I never caught her. I never, to this day, I still don't have her. He's still chasing this woman. And I look at the woman and she's just smiling because she knows what I know. She might not know it from a textbook, but she knows how to keep this guy in line. She never let him disrespect. If this man ever, and he probably did disrespect her times in their lives, and she just broke free. I'm sure they had down times, whatever, but she's smart as a fox, and the guy is still in chase mode, this 85-year-old man. And I love it. And, people will say, we talk about challenge and mystery, which are all the things that I'm teaching with the inner game, because when you're interesting and you're busy, you provide mystery and challenge, to naturally. And the guy is just, he's getting that, it's not a game. If it's a game, then why is he still playing it at 85? They're in love, but she just, always created that challenge and mystery, and like, don't think for a minute, you've got me, because I'll leave you tomorrow. if you don't treat me the way I deserve to be treated, and so I always have to share those stories because, they're true. I do. I love talking to that elderly couple because they're the holy grail to me. They truly are. And they've gone through, all, failures and everything. It's affairs. They've been there, but they had enough memories. I call them pennies in the jar. In fact, that's one of my books, Pennies in the Jar, How to Keep a Man for Life. They've got enough pennies in the jar, precious memories built up that they're inseparable. They're just, inseparable, so exciting stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it is exciting stuff. And I appreciate your passion about this, Gregg, because it's fun to listen to you because you're so passionate about this. So I just want to end with one last question before we talk about your free gift and wrap up for today. And that is, we always hear, and we've alluded to this and talked about it a little bit, but I think this will kind of bring us full circle. Why is confidence so sexy to a man? What is it about confidence that makes a woman so attractive? Because we hear this so much, but it's not something you can fake. Nope. And it's not something you can pretend you have. And we've talked about some of the ways to develop that confidence. But why do you think it's so sexy? Why do you think it's so appealing?
Because we can't win. Let's see. That is a great question. Let me try to pinpoint it. Confidence brings all the traits that a man wants into one little basket. Challenge and mystery is there. The positiveness is there. The fact that a guy and people in general, they like to label. They love to label people. Like when you go out, you see someone, you see a bum on a train, and you say, he's a bum on the train. You know what I mean? He's had a hard life. Maybe he's a Vietnam vet, whatever. And then I always say, the next day, if you see that same bum on the train and he's got a 3-piece suit and a Rolex watch, you are going to be blown away, okay? Because you've labeled this person and you are dead wrong. And I think that is the concept. I think the fact that when a woman is confident, she brings this stuff to the table. Like, I don't know if she's going to be a blonde today or a brunette, or I don't know what she's going to wear tomorrow. I don't know how she's going to, because she wants to live an exciting life. She doesn't want to be locked down to this routine. She wants to do things. She wants to experience things because she can, and she can live outside her comfort zone. She can do all those things, and it's attractive. It's attractive versus a woman, and guys can fit in the same category. But a woman, I call them, and that's kind of mean, but I say rest stop and keepers. The rest stops, if you will, are the women. Great women, but they're always trying to appease, a man and his wishes, and she'll sleep with him too soon, and she won't have her own opinions because she doesn't have opinions to express. because she doesn't have a great story behind her. And it gets very boring. And there's another thing. There's probably another good answer there is she becomes a little boring, whereas this woman over here that has options, that is busy, that is interesting, she's piquing my interest because I know she's not going to be a yes woman. She's going to be a keeper. So I might date someone over here knowing that, okay, she's a great girl, whatever, but she's not going to be my lifetime woman. I need someone exciting that I know is going to keep me on my toes. I always say to a man, when you understand those ingredients, the conveyor belt to manhood that go into us, competition, we want to fight for something. And if it comes without a fight, everything worthwhile comes with a fight to a man. If it's too easy, we just don't like that, and it's really not a game. It's just how we are. And that woman over here, the keeper, she has options. So we have to step up to the plate and be better than the next guy. And we feel that, and it motivates us, and it keeps us going. So again, I don't know if I got that answer in there, but the confidence is everything. And it's like, the word is so overused, so sometimes it makes my eyes glaze over saying it, but it's an amazing concept. Confidence, self-esteem. You've just got to get it. And it can be fun, to attain it. So.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Gregg. And thank you for giving us some tangible ideas on how to increase confidence, because it's one thing to talk about it. And you're right. It is a word we hear all the time. And the importance of it in dating is emphasized all the time. But it's really that inner knowledge for a woman of knowing her own intrinsic value, whether or not a man is on the horizon or not. She's not going to be thrown off knowing her value if a man's not showing up in the way she hopes or thinks he should.
Yeah.
And that is just something that women can develop that makes them not only more attractive to men, but it makes them more clear about their own value. And that makes a big difference in how they navigate the world of dating and in other aspects of their life.
Exactly. And you need a roadmap. No, you're not expected to have that roadmap. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I also like to say, that this is a perfect time of year to kind of explore this and just kind of look at, we were talking about how if a woman has a great life already, she's already having a great life and enjoying herself, then that man becomes that cherry on top. If she doesn't have a great, satisfying life, then she's looking for someone to complete her. That famous line, "You complete me," right?
Correct. And it might not be the right guy. If you don't have your ducks in line, you're going to attract a guy that supports your agenda, So exactly.
So Gregg, I just want to give you the chance to just kind of leave us with any last thought or last parting piece of wisdom. And then we'll wrap up for today.
Okay. Build yourself and he will come. Stop thinking about stop thinking about the man and start rediscovering yourself. And when you do that and you have the roadmap in front of you to do it, it's fun, it's exciting, and you're going to get to where you want to be. And don't think for a minute you can't do it, because I've had hundreds of women do this and they never thought they could. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Ladies, Gregg and I have really enjoyed our time together, and we hope you've enjoyed this conversation too. And I think there were so many gems in this conversation, and hope that you picked up on them, and you may even want to listen again. So thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you for more. Bye for now.
Bye-bye. Thank you.